Salman, guys. Izol, I was watching a Instagram reel, and this guy spoke about daddy love. I'm assuming he's a pastor or something because he aligns daddy love to God and God being the father, etc., etc. Um, and it made me think about the way that I love my boys and how I've been called mean, Penton, you mean, stop chastising your boys. Versus the mom love, which is more, I guess, compassionate and more understanding, more liberal type of love. Um, and again, I've been called mean because moms tend to want to celebrate just participation. There's a story of me laughing at my eldest son Uzita coming last in his race last year, 2022. And I chastised them about it because it's a matter of, bro, I know you can do better. I'm not going to celebrate the mere fact that you were there. I'm not going to allow you to get away with just being mediocre. And in that, watching him train at the beginning of this year in preparation for the race, the same race that he did last year where he came last, and watching him run this year and coming first and understanding how proud he was that he got this accomplishment made me proud, because at the end of the day, as a father, as a person who has daddy love, it's even if you don't like me, as long as I'm securing your future, so it's okay, sharp, I laugh at you, I tease you about it, you feel better, "Ah, dad's a jerk, I don't like him," sharp. If it motivates you to want to do better, obviously I was training with him, so if you go into my Instagram, you'll see videos of me training with not just him, but the other two, we're doing push-ups. This is, from all those times, getting him to a space where it did secure his future in him coming first in that race. Then the video carries on speaking about how people that don't understand daddy love, a lot of them didn't grow up in a household with a dad, etc., etc., and they can't recognize it. That's where I like to differ a little bit with the real. So if you'd allow me, I'll just want to change the word daddy love to tough love. Excuse me. So I want to change that word to tough love because I feel like in today's time, a lot of us run away from tough love. We don't understand what tough love is, and we see it as this demon, person who's always mean. And I just want to give you a bit of a little story about my life and just how I grew up. So I grew up where my mother, a single mother, was the only love I received. And when I was younger, so let's say between pre-puberty, so let's say 11 and down, or 1 to 11, let's put it like that, my mom was fucking tough, so in how she gave instruction and how she just projected herself, she was just tough, stern, and mean, and there's just that power dynamic, and she's a bully and all these things. And if I then look at certain results, I was washing my own shoes, I was washing the collar of my shirt, I was making my own food. This is me at like age 5, going through all these challenges. And then when I got into, like, let's call it high school phase, so from your 13, she became a kind, but stern person, so from like grade 7 up until grade 11, grade 10ish, she became kind but stern, so a lot of it was discussions. She'd sit, she'd hear me out. I'd give her suggestions, I'd recommend certain things. Lady, can we get this, can we eat this, can we try this? A lot of it became like a more of a partnership type of feel for me. And then in my matric year, my mom became very kind but weak, meaning I was getting away with everything. So in my matric year, she washed all my clothes, she ironed all my clothes. I stopped cooking, she cooked for me. My mom made sure, like, whatever I needed, whatever I wanted, she'd make sure that I get. She was allowing me to drive her car. So all those type of things where the consequences of my actions started falling off, and obviously if you're looking at a 17, 18-year-old boy, you love that, you love that because you're getting spoiled, you want that soft love, you want that compassionate, understanding love, and that's what my mom gave me, and she's continued to give me that kind but weak type of love, or weak type of tough love. And it's gotten me thinking, Uguti, tough love within parenting, tough love within relationships, whether it's professional relationships, whether it is romantic relationship, is a cornerstone of these things actually fucking working out. I look at my behavior. So let's say I went when my mom was mean and stern and in my junior year, my primary years, my report card was amazing. I had discipline, I worked, I did this, so the results were there. She was securing my future. And when it was kind but stern, it was great because it got me a bit of a buy-in. So as much as she did, I did, and it kind of balanced itself out. But then the next step, which was kind and weak, I look at my overall performance, I just started dropping. Academically, I get into varsity where there's no real consequences. So if I'm failing a module at varsity and I tell my mom, it's not like she'll say, well, come back home, I'll stop paying for your fees. None of that. She'll be like, oh, Dynam, it's okay, la la la. I look at the number of mistakes that I did in my early mid-20s, and I look at some of the mistakes that guys do, our sisters do. Sisters are doing whole phases because there's no real consequences from anyone. So they do whatever the fuck they want to do because there's no consequences. They want soft life. They want kind yet weak type of consequences and approaches in life. And in order to get any shit done in relationships, so brothers and sisters, listen to me very carefully. You need to have tough love. So what is tough love? You need to set hard boundaries. So this is me. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. These are my hard boundaries. So again, in that you can't give into pressure. I know these are my hard boundaries. I will not do da. Next thing, you're doing this thing because you saw it on Instagram, or your girlfriend's boyfriends are doing it, or your boyfriend's girlfriends are doing, whatever the case may be. You can't fall into that pressure because there'll always be pressure, especially with social media. So you set your hard boundaries and you don't give into pressure. You keep your emotions in check. You keep your emotions in check so that I'm not going too far, I'm not becoming too weak. It's constant. You have to stay objective in a lot of these things. So you keep your emotions into check so that you don't go too far or you pull back in. And then on top of that, you have to stay consistent. Consistency is key. So you have to be consistent with the consequences that you guys have set or what you have put to the table. Should this person break my boundaries, or should this person cross my boundaries, should this person do this? I then have these consequences. I leave, or I sit down, we have a conversation, or there's some sort of, punishment. You get to wash the dishes. I don't know what it is, but you stay consistent in that. The hard part with all of this, especially in romantic relationships, especially as a parent, is it's always hard because we're emotionally invested. We're so emotionally invested that I set these hard boundaries with my kids, and you're gonna go to bed, and and then they break those boundaries and they're like, oh, it's okay, my boy, it's just one day, or I'm not gonna go and buy my girlfriend the new Michael Kors bag, it's 10,000 rand, and then, oh no, it's okay, my baby, I know you had a bad day at work, let me get you that bag. The moment you stop being consistent is the moment everything falls apart, and the reason why is because we're so emotionally invested. So again, try your best to be objective. We're not saying be an animal, just be objective when it comes to those things. So again, if you get too tough, if you become too much of an animal, then you become a dictator, and no one wants a dictator. So it's understanding that you need to be kind but stern. That's what needs to happen. So in setting all these boundaries, in understanding and talking to a person, you need to be kind but stern. So that's what tends to happen in my life when I look at that perfect balance with me and my mother. If I look at certain relationships that I had with kids, with this, with that, once it became kind but stern, it worked. When it came kind but weak, there was no tough love. Everything fell onto the wayside. People wanted a soft life. So just to assist you in this, you have to make sure that you stay committed. You have to stay committed. You have to stay objective. You have to always be self-aware. Am I being too hard? Am I just being stern and mean? I have to be self-aware the entire time. Am I being too emotional in this? And then you need to have that bigger picture. So as much as there's tough love with my kids, as long as I understand which I'm doing this because I want to secure an amazing future for them, then that will work out. If I'm in a romantic relationship and I look at the bigger picture, what is it that I want for us? What is it that I want for her moving forward into our future? And how can I use this approach of being kind but stern? How can I use this tough love in order to ensure that this relationship keeps it ticking? But guys, please understand, I know a lot of us love that compassionate, soft love, but in the long term, that type of kind, weak, soft love shit, it doesn't breed success. You know, when you're kind but stern, when you have tough love, when you've set these boundaries, ensuring that everything that we are doing moving forward is for our future, that's when things work out. Gantanda, I hope you share, like, subscribe to my channel, and throw some comments at the bottom. Let's grow together. Sharp, guys.